Hello and welcome to CHIPs LinkedIn Live. We started this as a way to showcase some of the amazing work from the CHIPs community to advance women in tech law and policy. And we have an exciting episode for you today. Vaishali Udupa is Vice President, Associate General Counsel for Litigation at Hewlett Packard Enterprise. In addition to handling commercial and employment litigation matters, her team handles all of HPE's IP litigation, including patent, copyright, IP licensing, and trade secret claims. Vaishali is a winner of the HPE Women's Excellence Award, recognizing extraordinary women across HPE, the recipient of the National Bar Association's 2020 Diversity in Tech and IP Award, the DCA Live's Top Corporate Counsel Award, and for the past 5 years, Managing Intellectual Property named her a Corporate IP Star. Prior to joining HP in 2011, Vaishali was an associate at Jones Day and Penny Penman. She earned her JD from American University's Washington College of Law and her BS in Civil Engineering from the University of Virginia. Welcome, Vaishali.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you here. So we're going to get right into it. We've been having so many great conversations. Tell us, how do you demand wider representation from your outside counsel?
Yeah, so for me, when I think about sort of what I do and how important diversity, equity, and inclusion is, it's not just for what's going on within my organization, it's from the legal service providers that we have. And with our law firms, it's really important for me that they present diverse teams. And it starts from the very beginning. It starts from when you do your RFPs to see who's going to get an opportunity to be one of our preferred providers. And we have, information that they have to fill out regarding our diversity initiatives. And then on a case-by-case basis, you have to see and hope that they're giving you a diverse pitch. If they're not giving you diverse pitches, then you have to demand it. But it doesn't stop there. Once you hire them, you need to really monitor it, because I've seen on certain cases, they give me a diverse pitch. And then when I look at the billing, it's not a diverse team. So I always look when I'm reviewing the bills to see who's really working on the matter. So staying on top of it. They said they would give me a diverse team. Have they fulfilled that promise to me? And then, making sure that the people that are working on the cases are getting the type of experience and opportunities so that they can, build themselves up and make themselves more marketable and to get, to higher levels at their firms.
Yeah, I think that's so great. And we've talked a little bit about some of the egregious actions you've experienced. You mentioned that sometimes they come in for a pitch, but then they're not actually billing. What are some of the other things you've experienced that have resulted in a law firm being removed from your list?
So, not always are they always removed, but at the same time, they are, I put them on notice that this certain things that I've seen doesn't, I'm just not happy about it. And I can give you two examples. One, for example, I had a law firm that was working on a case, and they came to me and they said, one of our associates, she's getting married. She's, going to be really busy. So while that's happening, could we, bring someone else onto the team? And for me, that just didn't sit well. I wanted to know why, when someone's, planning a wedding, and I remember planning my wedding, I was still doing my work, why they thought she was going to be so busy. So I reached out to make sure, one, that from other associates that I knew at the firm, that she was doing a good job. Everyone said she was doing a fantastic job. And then I reached out to her and I said, look, what is your workload like? Can you handle this? When are you going on your honeymoon? How much, how long are you going to be gone? And everything she told me is that she wanted to be on this case. There was no reason that she couldn't handle the work. So I went back to the partners and I said, this is ridiculous. Don't ever say to me that a woman, just because she's getting married and planning her wedding, that she can't handle her caseload. And so I made sure that she stayed on the team. And that's one example. But another example that I also had is there was, we had a case that it was a very large case. There were a lot of attorneys working on it. And they had promised me a diverse team. And as time progressed, I noticed that the team was not diverse. I even asked him, I said, tell me, like, who are the people that are working on this matter that I'm not seeing? Where's the diversity? And, to make up those numbers, they even included paralegals. And I said, look, if you're having to list paralegals, and not that paralegals aren't important, to say that you're diverse, there's some things I want diverse all across the board. And so what they did was they then brought in an attorney who was diverse, and they said, look, we brought this diverse attorney in. And I knew him, and I came to find out that they brought him onto the case, but then they told him he could not bill on the matter. So that they were just bringing him in to make me happy, but he wasn't really going to be doing work. And so that was an example where I was furious, and I called the firm out on it. And, I haven't been giving them any more work.
It's always a little shocking to hear these examples, because I feel like we should be farther along. What is hard about advocating for diversity in the legal industry, and what are you noticing changing? Are you noticing anything getting better?
I think it's up and down, right? So I think we are constantly making progress with regards to diversity and inclusion and equity. It's not something, hey, this is like a great idea, let's look into it. It is something that everyone at this point realizes that it is important and that we need to make sure that it happens. It's a question of execution and how is it happening. So, I think at times we do see progress. I see recently I had a case where I just went to trial. The team was, across the board. You had different races, genders, LGBTQ individuals. I even had a pregnant woman. She was arguing and doing a witness. Like, to me, it just felt like this was diversity, and it was the work product they also had was amazing. So it wasn't at the expense of, that we weren't going to get the best team. I actually think it was one of the best trial teams I've ever had.
I love that story, and I can feel how important it is and what a difference it makes. Why don't more firms do this? What's keeping us from being that all the time?
I think it's just, I think there's some people that it's malicious, and other people it's not. And it might not be front of mind. So how do we get this to the front of mind of people? That's one thing. At other times, I think that, we have this natural instinct to sort of go to what we know and what we've always felt comfortable with. So if you're, spending a lot of time on the golf courses, hanging out with your buddies, and you've become really good friends with, that you then want to continue working with them on your matters, that might cut off other people that maybe do just excellent work, but you've just never had the exposure to them. And so just having an open mind of like, how am I going to go outside of the people that I usually go to and add other people onto my team, and also do a good job of being inclusive, adding them, giving them great work. It takes effort. And so I think people have to sign up and be ready to do that.
Do you ever say to your outside counsel, hey, this is why it's important, and give them a chance to kind of reframe what the process is?
I think, to me, most of the law firms I work with, they do know that it is something that is important to me. It's a question about whether they're willing to really do the work to make sure it happens. And I think it's on me too, that it's not just we have this diverse team. How do we get them the opportunities to, and it's across the board, right? I'm also about next gen, and whether younger attorneys getting opportunities, regardless of if you're diverse or, what gender, making sure everyone gets opportunities. And so that we're building up the next generation of great lawyers and making sure that when we build it up, we're going to have all different types of people. And I also think it matters when you think about, like, say, for example, in litigation, who's the jury you're going to be going in front of? And it's not going to be, the last two juries I've had, it's been a lot of women. They're, definitely diverse. In the last one, there was a diverse people on that too. So, you want people that are going to connect with the jury and things like that. So diversity helps and it matters.
That's a great example. You're not new to this. You were the only woman on a construction site as a civil engineer building a semiconductor plant. Tell us about that experience and what you learned from it and how it takes you into the work you're doing now.
Yeah, so when I graduated from undergrad, I deferred my acceptance to law school for a year, and I worked building. I was on a construction site, and I was 22. I think I was 22 years old. Woman, the only woman that was for my company on that site. And I was brought in to streamline their processes. And I remember they initially just looked at me like, what is she doing here? And what does she know? And it took time. I had to build trust with these people that I had their back, and that what I was going to do and what I was going to try to implement was going to be make their lives easier. And so I, actually the way that it was a time and material project, and the way that it was a fast track project, everything had to be done 2 days before. And so I made sure that the way that material was logged using barcode scanners and things like that they could quickly log everything and get paid quickly. And it worked really well. And so as soon as I built their trust, they would do anything for me. They were so loyal. And so I think that it's so critical to build trust with people, to let them know your value add. And then also, I think once you do that, things work a lot better.
All right, that's such a great example, Vaishali. Thank you for sharing that. And I know that you do that on your own team. So tell us about the rules of the wolf pack and the team that you've built at HPE.
Yeah. So, a few years ago, I came across, oh my God, my mind is going blank. The soccer player, Wambach, she was doing at Bernard College, she was doing a commencement speech. And it was about how throughout her career, people always told her to be like Red Riding Hood, put your hood up, sort of stay on the path and, just do what you're supposed to do. And then she sort of realized that she really wasn't that. She was a wolf. And, that she, as a wolf, there's a pack and you have to sort of, with her teams, that's how she, led her teams to victory. And so there's sort of 4 rules that go for this, for her wolf pack. 1, you have to champion each other. 2, you have to demand the ball. You have to make failure your fuel. And then you also have to lead from the bench. And so that really resonated with me. And I thought, this is something I also want to implement with my own team. I think it's really that if we act like a wolf pack, we're doing these rules, we're going to get great results. We're going to have each other's backs. And I think it would lead to more employee engagement and happiness and things like that. So I actually created a welcome letter to the wolf pack. I gave everyone on my team a little wolf doll and, gave them the 4 rules that we had to work to try to implement within our team. And so, for example, there are times that you want a certain project. So I'm going to try my hardest to give it to you. But if for some reason there's something that you're not getting, demand the ball, come to me and tell me that you want this type of work. And then I will make sure, it's on my radar. Or other times there's going to be work that you're just not happy with. And everyone on our team, they're going to have to do sort of some things to make sure that we get the results that we want, but maybe it's not the most exciting work. So even if you're like on the bench, for example, or you're not working on a certain case, you're going to do everything you can to help those people that are, on the playing field and things like that. So these types of rules we've used, and it's been, I found it really helpful, and it really got people engaged and happy on our team.
I love it. And I know you've shared some really great stories with me around advocating for your own team as well. Why don't you share a couple of those stories now, how you've advocated for the wolf pack and for promoting internally, for advocating for people on your team?
Yeah. So I think, so one of the things I tell everyone is that you have to be your own PR person. But at the same time, when you're on a team, I also say we have to be our own, we have to promote each other. And so whether it's like for awards or things like that, like we sit there and we make sure that we, submit people for different awards or things like that. But also, it's just like little things that you can do at team meetings or, and I think you can do a Google search for this, but in the Obama administration, a bunch of women, they realized that if they wanted to be heard, they needed to amplify each other's voices. And so what they would do, for example, in meetings is they would do things like, if someone said a comment and then say, for example, another man said exactly the same thing, and to make sure that the woman who originally said it got credit for it, they would say her voice, oh, that's just like what, Mary just said. Yeah, that's a great point. So, amplifying each other's voices, or even when someone says something like, we should implement X, Y, and Z, the next woman should say, Mary, that is a great idea, and really be to the point where you say their name, so their name is heard, and amplify that they did a great job and this is a great recommendation. Because sometimes it's hard to promote yourself. So if someone else on your team is doing it for you, it's going to help you. So that's what we've done on our team is, whether it's, in team meetings, on, on the work that we're doing, or behind the scenes when we're talking to the people, our managers or things like that, that we make sure that we're constantly promoting each other.
That's a great story and all of those are great examples. I hope that all teams are doing this and using these strategies to help elevate and advance. What are some of the ways that you have hired and retained a diverse team? And what do you recommend for others who are looking for ways to hire and retain top talent?
So I will say one area that I think is really helpful. It's just your network, right? And so first thing is increasing your network, and organizations like ChIPs has enabled us. Like for me, I have met so many amazing, intelligent women through ChIPs, and it's been a great resource to try to get people to come and work for our company. And then at the same time, when you work on cases, who are the ones that are doing great work? And if you have diverse teams, then you can then maybe pull from there. And so many of the people that I've hired are the ones that have worked on my cases. But also when you're looking at the people who apply, look at what they've done, and all the work that they've done. But at the same time, you have to keep in mind that sometimes women or diverse individuals might not have all the requisite requirements. And so think a lot about potential and what they can do. And that's for anyone, whether it's, just think about their potential, and you'll get the sense of their potential is when you're talking to them. And, are they a go-getter and things like that. So, just have a very open mind.
Yeah, you talked about what's beyond the resume. And I think that's really important because if someone's in an organization where they're not being selected because of unconscious bias or otherwise, then how do they get the experience to show that they can do it?
Yeah, I completely agree. So I remember I was speaking on a panel, and this woman made a really interesting comment that so often women are viewed, and it's this unconscious bias of women are so organized, and they take really good notes. So you know, so often they end up doing the discovery aspects of litigation, and then and they do a great job with that. And then as time progresses and they get to the point where they need to, people are looking at whether they should make partner or not, uh, they say, well, you've only done discovery stuff, discovery motions, things like that. But, in an IP case, maybe you haven't argued a Markman, or maybe you haven't done some sort of witness at trial. And so these things that initially are viewed as great characteristics down the road end up hurting their chances of maybe making partner. And so you have to, when you're hiring, try to understand, like, did they get put into this, corner, and do they have the ability to do more? And so have, again, an open mind, and then, talk to them about it. And you can tell if someone can, when you speak to them, if they have the ability to do a Markman or other, very technical things. It's very easy to figure that out when you have a conversation in an interview.
It seems like common sense, but we both know that it's so much harder in reality to create this shift and to hire and retain top diverse talent and to really create space for people to belong. So what is one small step that you could offer up to our listeners to help them make a little bit of change in their organizations, help make it a little bit easier?
I think one, and I've said this throughout, is just having an open mind, and understanding that diversity and inclusion and creating, just that kind of environment leads to happier employees, leads to better results, or really good results, right? And so, have an open mind to that, and don't think it's at the expense of, results. And I think the other thing is really being on top of things. If you are committed to these issues, then continue to monitor it. Like I said, look at the pitches, look at the billing, make sure, and then go back to the law firms and say, you promised me X, Y, and Z, that hasn't happened. Or in the alternative, when it has happened, go back to them and say, thank you. I mean, one of my law firms, I think, does an excellent job. And I submit them for diversity awards, because I just believe that they're doing the right thing.
Are you allowed to share who that is?
Yeah, I submitted Gibson Dunn. And again, that was my recent trial team. The amount, like, when I asked for diversity, I mean, it was served on a silver platter. They did such a great job.
That's awesome. Well, this has been so helpful for me, Vaishali, to hear how you're doing this, how you're approaching it, how thoughtful you are about creating teams and elevating people from within. I've loved talking to you about all of these ideas and strategies that you're using, and I hope that others who are listening will bring them back to their organizations to do more of this great work. Vaishali is also one of our 17 members of our new ChIPs General Counsel Bootcamp, the first cohort. We're so excited to have you in this program, and I am personally just thrilled to see where you're going to go and continue to do great work. So if you're not a member of ChIPs, join our ChIPs network, and it's chipsnetwork.org. Like Vaishali said, it's just an incredible group of women from all over, really diverse group of women, and this has been a pleasure. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Monica, for having me.